welcome to Wholesale Hotties, the show where ladies in real estate are talking about real estate. I'm your MC and host for this evening, Sharon-Lee Smith, and my co-host with me today, Monique Fell. And I'm super excited to have on as our guest today, Heather Murray. Heather, welcome. I'm so glad you can be on the show today.
Me too. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. So Heather is in my local area right here in Hampton Roads, Virginia. I just love this woman to death. She's an amazing team leader in an LPT team called Murray Realty Group. And her and her husband lead that. But she also is an investor, been an investor for a long time. She's a former Navy veteran. She's a Navy veteran. Sorry. And been doing flips and things for a long time. But she also used to be an Airbnb host, and she operated these remotely. And dude, let's unlock this. Tell me all about it.
So we still do own property down there.
Okay.
We sold one of them. So I guess I could start. You want me to start at the beginning?
Tell us who you are, where you're from, all the things, and how you got into it, and then
So I am currently a lifetime board member of the Tidewater Real Estate Investors Group. And if you're in our local area and you're interested in investing, that's the place to be. That's the room to learn. So, and they had brought in.
While we're on that, aren't they like the longest standing RIA in the country? Something like that. Been around since the 70s.
We're going to own that. Yeah, since the 70s. It is some of the OGs are still, believe it or not, still attending, still part of it. And they're also one of the largest. I think last time I checked, membership was at 400-ish, somewhere along those lines. But I went lifetime last year after serving for like 8 years, I think it was. So the new boards and stuff are just doing a fantastic job. But it's the place to learn anything real estate, particularly if you're just beginning. So I had taken some classes, like most of us, we spend a lot of money traveling and taking classes and getting an education. And had taken a class on short-term rentals, but I loved it. I wanted to jump in the deep end of the pool. My husband was like, Virginia Beach keeps changing the regulations. So,
right.
And I'm not at all saying anything he wouldn't tell you if he was on this call. He was scared.
Yeah.
Scared. Fast forward, he joined a mastermind group with some people who were doing, one of them was doing short-term rentals down in the Kissimmee, Florida area. This is pre-COVID when we got introduced to them, and it's Jamie and Steven. Oh my gosh, their last names escape me, but I'll remember. Anyhow, so COVID hit, and all of a sudden my husband's like, hey, let's go buy an Airbnb in Florida. And I went, are you crazy? Because guess what wasn't open? Disney, Epcot, nothing is open. Tourism is at a niente zero in Florida because we were in the middle of COVID, because this is June 2020, right? COVID had hit in March. So we went down there because Alan and I have this agreement that we will at least entertain each other's crazy ideas. But if we're not,
I love it.
Yeah, 100%. And there's been some doozies through the years. But if we're not both 100% in, if one says no, it's no. Right? It's just no. So it keeps our marriage and our business partnership. I've been blessed to work with my best friend side by side for 15 years. So you got to figure out those ways, right? Because we don't always see eye to eye on stuff. So anyhow, I went down to Florida. At that time, lenders were offering second home loans. So they were 10% down, which we had, because everybody's like, what'd you guys do with your COVID money? And I'm like, bought a property. What did you do with it? I don't understand the question, right?
Right. What else would you do with it?
I don't know this is weird to me. Because, the three of us eat, sleep, and drink, real estate. So, so we went down there and we looked at several properties, and the one that we bought was in a gated community. And Sharon, stop me if I get too deep in any of this stuff.
No, we're eating it up.
Okay. So what we really wanted a community, so Kissimmee is different than any other place in the country. And the reason that they're different is when Airbnb as a company came into fruition and was looking at Kissimmee or the Orlando area, the city of Orlando outlawed all short-term rentals. Why? Because it cuts into the hotels at Disney, right? So they literally went, nope. Kissimmee was just a big flat piece of land. There was nothing there. And so the city officials in Kissimmee was like, I'm your Huckleberry, build here. And so everything down there has been fairly brand new in the last like 10 years. So they built short-term rental communities because one of Alan's concerns, and it turned out to be accurate, was the regulations that Virginia Beach has. Norfolk is not too far behind, like all of those regulations, because short-term rental houses are mixed in with neighborhoods. Where Florida and Kissimmee specifically, they are actual short-term rental communities, right? So when I got my HOA docs and they're 186 pages long, no joke, at the top of every single page, you know I read it all, right? You know I read every line.
No, of course you did. I would too.
At the top of every single page, an 18-point bold print says, you acknowledge you are purchasing in a short-term rental community. So we don't have the problems of the neighbors being like, oh my God, they're up too late. They're all of this stuff. So criteria number one for us was in a short-term rental community. I wanted it gated. I wanted it with security, actual person, right? And we wanted to have the amenities that we thought we would want to go vacation on. So a really great gym, awesome clubhouse, pool, the whole 9 yards. So we bought our very first one using that 10% down loan, which is not available anymore because people like me used it like crazy. It was a townhouse. It was in a brand new, and I mean brand new, community called Solara, and it is stunning. Get a chance, look it up. It's beautiful. And so I told Alan, I'm like, you absolutely are crazy. First of all, he wants to buy it in the middle of COVID. Not even the middle of COVID, beginning of COVID. Number two, we live in Virginia. This is Florida. And in case your audience is not aware, to co-host, meaning someone else is running your entire business and you just get a statement every month, was about 20% at the time. And Alan's like, there's got to be a way to do this remotely, that we can do this. So our friends Jamie and Stephen also had property in the same community. And from the bottom of my heart, Jamie Blaze, sorry, just got her last name. They opened their playbook up. They live in Pennsylvania. And they're like, hey, this is the pool people we use. This is the maintenance that we use. We use Hospitable to run our back end business. We use Century remote locks. We use Ring. And they just opened it up to us. And I swore I would always pay it forward. Like I am not, and Sharon, you know this even more so than Monique does, stuff to myself person. You want to know, I'll tell you. I will share all the secret sauce. So one of the things that was, and then what are the short-term rental rules in Kissimmee? So Osceola County itself, because of being like all short-term rental builders come to us, please bring us your money and your taxes. They have a tax called a tourist development tax. So we had to figure that piece out. So then it was, and when I say we, let me just preface this to say that if this was Wholesale Hot Men, Alan would be on it.
Oh, yes.
Because he really runs the business, that side of it. I take care of the real estate residential teams and that sort of thing. But as far as the nuts and bolts day to day, like you should consider a Wholesale Hot Men, something along those lines. So we bought it in July. We bought
we can have a special edition.
That's right. We should have like the men of the show.
We should, absolutely. So we bought it in July. We were racing to get it up because just as in rehabbing, which as you know, I did for many years, time is money, right? Every day that thing's not on the market, I'm not making any money. And we wanted to have it, as any investor who's doing stuff like this wants, we want to close at the beginning of the month because I will essentially have 50-ish days till my first mortgage payment's due, right? So like that's the sweet spot. So all of your investors that are watching this, keep that in mind. Your closing date does matter.
Right.
So then the next step was, it was brand new. So meaning, okay, we bought it from someone else, but the unit itself was a year old, 2 years old when we bought it. So everything fairly new. We had, we did some paint, we did some furniture replacement, but essentially a lipstick flip kind of a situation, because we didn't know. Yeah. And we didn't have the capital. We'd sunk 30 grand into buying it. So we didn't have the capital to be screwing around. So here's what no one could have predicted. And where I say that my husband is absolutely crazy like a fox. No one would predict that people from New York would decide in the middle of winter that why should I be working at home in New York when it's cold, when I could be working remotely in Florida.
Right.
And more importantly, their kids are also remote too, because we're talking COVID.
Yeah.
So we had one particular couple that literally booked us for 90 days. 90 days. Yeah. We want it the whole time. And because we had families, we could see every single morning, this is not an exaggeration, they left their house at 7 a.m. They came back at 11 because they were golfing every day.
Nice.
Because the golf courses was the one place where there were no COVID restrictions at all.
Because it's outdoors. Right.
No masks needed either. You are out. Golf was the one. What is Florida known for? Golf, right? So our numbers that first year were just astronomically good. Really, really good. So then it was, okay, it's time to maybe do another one, because let's double down, right? So our second property we bought coming out of COVID. So that would have been 22. We bought a 5-bedroom, 5.5 bath house in a short-term rental community again. That is 3,400 square feet, has a private pool, private jacuzzi, and we theme roomed just the hell out of it, because that's what you do in Florida, right? I have one room that is a Harry Potter room, and if your viewers are familiar with the movies, I literally hand painted the ceiling of this like the Great Hall. There are floating keys hanging in the corner. I did a corner wall where we did all gilded pictures of all of the professors, old and new. We did. They call her, and this is what they called her, the fat lady with the password you have to say to come in and out of rooms. And when you opened the closets, we took out the closet bar in that room and in our frozen room, so the 2 kid themed rooms, and because they don't hang clothes on vacation, they don't. So inside of the closet, we painted the closet itself like deep dark brown, because that whole room there's no white trim, it's all like dark, because it's Harry Potter, right? Heavy brass knobs to open the closet door, and in there we put the TV and a dark brown dresser, because little kids don't bring hang up clothes, right? I thought it was brilliant because we couldn't figure out where else to put it. Each one of the beds has a Hogwarts bedspread on. It's ridiculous, and I had so much fun. So much fun. The other kids' room is Frozen, from the movie Frozen. We did a mural wall, and then I hung from the edges of it twinkle. They look like huge snowflakes, but more importantly, I made custom fluffy big clouds, and so it looks like it's coming through them. So it ended up being, I'm going down there actually in 3 weeks. I'm doing a girls' week at my place for a couple of reasons. Number one, tax write-off. Number two, check it out, make sure everything's good, because I haven't seen it for a year, right? And number three, me and 4 of my best friends are going to do nothing but get sunburns and drink margaritas. So it's going to be awesome. I'm going to invite you next time. So in the meantime, as the market had gone crazy in 2020, like 2-ish, the investors were coming down and they were buying our little townhouse. Our first one was nothing special. It had a pool, I think more a splash pad in the back. It was a townhouse. It was 4 bedrooms, yes, but it wasn't It wasn't off the radar.
High-end luxury,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, it just wasn't. In 2022, investors were coming down there and they were buying my properties sight unseen. Never even walked in for 600,000.
Yeah.
Crazy. So when we decided to buy the second one and have two properties down there, last year, yeah, it's been about a year ago, year and a half ago, we decided to sell the Solera property because the numbers made sense.
Right.
We bought it for $330. I sold it for $550, I think it was, and I could have done even higher if I had done it during a couple months earlier when the market was still not so down there because of the interest rates. And so everybody's like, "Why did you sell it?" And I'm like, "Do the ROI." We figured out how long would it take if nothing changed to get the $250,000 back to you. And that's the kind of math I always encourage the investors to do. It's like, how long
before your capital gets returned?
How long? Yeah. And so, so we've got we call it the big house because it's big, still down there. And I absolutely, I love being a short-term rental owner. We list on multiple platforms though. So we list on Airbnb and VRBO, and they're both different. They're both different in how they handle more. The biggest difference is the kind of vacationers. Yeah. So we kind of learned that if you're going VRBO, you're pretty much looking families, you're looking for a longer stay, a week, 2 weeks maybe, right? It's a vacation thing. Where Airbnb, you get more shorter stays. Not all the time. Yeah, we have a couple of families that have come back year after year for us right after Christmas, and they'll stay 2 weeks. But generally the platforms they just market to a different type of vacationer for us. Yeah. So I just realized I just spent 15 minutes telling you all about that.
So you still have one of the Florida properties, and it's still cash flowing for you. Makes sense to keep it. You're really enjoying it. You're going to keep it a while.
Yeah, I think so.
Added more to your portfolio, though.
Well, and so my husband, you have to have an exit plan, right?
Yeah.
You got to have an exit plan. The short-term rental market in Kissimmee, everybody said it crashed. It did not crash. It normalized to pre-COVID. It would require another pandemic, knock on wood, that never happens in our lifetime, in order to get the kind of returns that we got because my husband was crazy and bought in the middle of COVID, right?
Right.
So it normalized out. So as far it takes care of itself, it's cash flow, it's an equity play for us. It's also a vacation place if we want to go. I got a granddaughter that's 4 years old. In a couple of years, she's going to want to go to Disney, and we're going. But also, we're also looking at retirement options for us. So our end goal, when it becomes time, whenever that happens, is sell my Florida property, sell my primary residence here, and buy my final home in cash.
Yeah.
Because if you talk to any senior, what would make your retirement comfortable or easy? They all say the same thing.
And not have a mortgage payment. Yeah.
Own your house, no mortgage payment. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I do. And it approximately takes Alan about an hour a week to run his short-term rental. And part of that is because of that program Hospitable. So all of his check-in procedures are done remotely. All of his communication with the guests is done remotely. So all of those are set up. They're set it and forget it instructions. If they need to contact him, they contact him through the platform's app. And so we can be responsive like this.
Free money.
Yeah, it really is. And don't get me wrong, stuff happens, right? So every time a hurricane comes through Florida, I'm like this.
Right.
I mean, I got a lot of money invested down there.
But thankfully, though, right? Kissimmee's in the middle on both sides and top to bottom. It's right in the middle. So, you're not getting the coastal flooding as you would in the others. So thankfully, that was smart too, just location wise.
And that was, if you were to ask Alan why we picked Kissimmee, we did it because of 365-day a year tourism. Yeah. That's why. Unlike where we live, where our tourism is really kind of locked into summer months.
Yeah.
Where the short-term rental operators that I know here in my area, they do short-term rental during the summer, and in the wintertime, they're doing midterm, right? They're doing 30-day rentals and so on. And that makes sense too. We wanted 365 days a year. So it was really important. However, you are not wrong about the flooding.
Right.
So we are really good friends with an operator who does a lot in Tampa. And those folks, especially with flooding and flood insurance and all of that, particularly
now can't even get insurance.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And insurance companies just canceled, and there's up Schitt's Creek.
So we do. So I'm glad you brought up insurance. So short-term rental insurance is very different from homeowners insurance.
Right.
And so Alan had shopped around, and the company that gave us like the best rate was Prosper.
Okay.
Either Prosper or Steadily, and both would insure there. The negative thing about Kissimmee is they're all built on slabs, all of them, because it's so fast for them to do it, right? So
why is that a negative though?
Because any kind of flooding at all, if the drainage in the city and the streets and stuff is not good.
In the house.
Yeah, so here's what we do. You guys are gonna laugh. I know you're gonna laugh. Before a hurricane or major storm comes to Kissimmee, we have our maintenance guy go out and drain our pool 18 inches.
Well, that's actually smart.
Because the pool, it's slightly sloped.
And so it all drains into the pool. And then you just have to filter it.
And then filter it, which is filtering anyhow.
That's brilliant.
Thank you. I came up with that all on my own.
Brilliant.
So you're going to laugh. This is what they do. They takes all the outdoor furniture, throws it in the pool, all of it.
Okay, why?
Because number one, it becomes a missile, right?
Okay.
So back doors, I have 3 panels, like instead of a 2-panel sliding door, I have 3. So you can open my entire living room to the outdoor space because we have a lanai, so you don't have bugs, right? Mm-hmm. So you literally could open that entire thing up. Well, a chair becomes a missile during high winds, right?
And now you're shattering these huge panes of glass.
Yes. And instead of asking my guests, hey, by the way, do you mind if my maintenance guy comes over and puts in, 2 lounge chairs, a grill, a table that sits 8, and in the middle of your living room during the storm, my maintenance guy tosses it all in the pool. He drains the pool 18 inches, tosses it all in the pool, and when it's all done, he goes down, him and his buddies, lifts up my furniture. It's outdoor furniture, you can't hurt it. Right?
That's awesome.
And then drain the pool. That's it. That is 100% it. And then drain the pool 18. Well, 18 inches. This last one we did more because they were expecting more. I think the least we've done is like 6 inches. It just depends on what the weather's going to do. But my theory is everything slopes to the pool anyhow, so it'll keep water from flooding in my house. And so far, knock on wood, it's worked.
I love it.
That's great. Brilliant. It's hilarious.
Do you find that all the different cities that are doing short-term restrictions, do you see or foresee anything like that happening in that area?
No. And the reason why is because Osceola County, which is the county Kissimmee is in, wrote into their charter short-term rental approvals. It's an actual zoning code.
Wow.
Because every short-term rental operator down there pays to the county per month 6% of our gross revenue, right? It is a money-making proposition for that city.
Oh, yeah.
So let's say that for some reason the politics within that city should change and someone got in charge that didn't like short-term rental or whatever, they would have to change the city charter and eliminate the zoning because these are short-term rental communities unto themselves versus, again, where they're scattering throughout the cities and they're in neighborhoods and you can have all kinds of problems. I will say this much though, Osceola County, and at least where the communities we've worked with, all strictly enforce the noise ordinance.
But if they are making that much money, they have no desire to get out of the...
None whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely not.
But it's what makes that area unique. There's no other place in the country that I know of that built actual communities for the short-term rental people. Now there
So-
are, go ahead.
So with that said, then, if you were going to advise somebody, would you advise them to buy in that area for a short-term rental?
I would definitely so my advice would be, you cannot do short-term rentals in Kissimmee the way you can in other parts of the country. So in other words, like here in Virginia Beach, if I was going to buy a short-term rental, I would probably do something Americana on the wall because of our strong community ties to the military, right?
Right.
And I would probably think of something like surfboards, beachy, that kind of thing, right?
Right.
In Kissimmee, you have to take whatever thing you're doing and amp it up to the nth degree. There is nothing too ridiculous. Nothing. Because you're competing with everybody else for an experience, right? So the main things that I would tell someone if they were looking to secure capital and they wanted to do it, and if the numbers made sense, because you have some things to consider that you don't have in long-term rentals that are a pro and a con. One is your house gets turnover 4 or 5 times a month, right? Each time my big property turns over and my cleaning crew comes in, guests check out at 10 o'clock, next guest is coming in at 4. They have 6 hours to completely clean, do all the laundry, so on and so forth, for a house that sleeps 12. And that does not count couches, right? So the blessing in that is that I have eyes on my property outside of myself 4 or 5 times a month. And our cleaners, one of the tips I would give someone buying any short-term rental, force your cleaners to send you pictures of the property when you're done.
As soon as they're done cleaning.
Yes, because you will have guests that will check it and be like, the bed wasn't made, or this wasn't that. And what they're looking for is refunds, right? For us to be like, oh, I'm so sorry, let me give you some money. Excuse me. The negative side of having a cleaning crew in your place 3-4 times a month is the cost, right?
Yeah.
So unlike long-term rentals where you're really thinking mortgage, your insurance built in, you're also thinking the electricity bill, the heating bill. We use the Nest system on our heater, on our thermostat,
Right.
and let our guests know, if you'd like us to adjust it, we are happy to do it, because we learned people do this. They turn it up to 80, they turn it down to 60, they do all that craziness, right? So to control electricity costs, that's a big one. So there's just a laundry list of expenses that you have that you don't have in something else. So would I advise someone? Absolutely. But I would 100% do your due diligence, or they can reach out through Sharon, through you, or through Anik, and I'm happy to run through it's an extensive list. It just has to make sense to you.
Yeah. So what are all those things that make sense to do? You said Sentry has remote locks. You just mentioned Nest Wi-Fi thermostats. Are there other Wi-Fi enabled things that you utilize in order to do this?
So we do Roku TVs.
Okay.
So let me back up with the TV situation. So lots of lessons learned, right? Lots of lessons. When we first we bought the cheapest TVs that we could find on Walmart and threw them on the walls, because Spectrum is their TV provider down there, right? And Spectrum just runs cable boxes and stuff. This was an absolute failure, absolute failure. We switched over to Roku TVs that run through Spectrum as well, because they could hit the internet. There is something called guest mode in Roku TVs that you can literally program that as soon as your guests leave, it logs them out. So the very first time I went down after we had put Roku TVs in and I went to turn a TV on, let me tell you, there are some grandparents out there that are naughty people. They never logged out of their accounts, and I was like, I don't know whether to cheer from you or tell you, shame on you. Yeah. Naughty people out there. But hey, they're on vacation, to each their own. So it logs them out. So putting the Roku TVs, fantastic. We also learned that Alan can log into their accounts, into those TVs from here. So they just got to put a new Roku TV up, plug in, Alan logs into a Spectrum account, and we can set guest mode from up here. So
you can have a maintenance guy switch out a TV if something happens.
We actually had, because it's Roku, this last time we had a TV die, and it just happens. We notified the guests that a TV was going to be delivered. So we ordered it from here, right? It was going to be delivered, asked if they would just put it in the living room or somewhere. And our maintenance guy's mom was in the hospital. So it would be like 24 hours. And in that property, there are 7 TVs. There's 7 TVs in that house. So I wasn't worried that they didn't have TV to watch, right?
Right.
Pick another one. The great thing about Roku TVs too, by the way, is the remotes work on all the TVs. Where before, if you didn't have the right remote, you couldn't turn the TV on.
Right.
Huge problem. Even though we labeled them, they're like, it doesn't work. Yeah, because you've got the one that says princess room down in the living room. Like Roku, all remotes work at all places.
Nice.
Was the number one thing that drove me nuts because Alan spent so much time on it. So we asked them to just kind of put it aside, right? Like, we're so sorry. Our maintenance guy's mom is in the hospital. He won't be there till tomorrow. And the husband's like, it's Roku, right? Like, yeah. He's like, I'll put it up on the wall, plug it in, and let you know. He unpacked it, put it on the wall, plugged it in, texted Alan, hey, I hung it up. Alan's like, give me 5 minutes. Went in, did the little magic. Boom, he had a TV again. Yes, those people got special gifts mailed to them.
Yeah.
So I'll talk to you guys about gifts in a minute. So you got to have Ring, front door. You can't do it in the back door, by the way, not in Florida, because of the pool situation.
Oh.
They consider it an invasion of privacy that you could be Googling and goggling over someone who's doing whatever in the pool, right? So Ring 100%. That has been so helpful. I'll tell you a funny little story. So Alan got a message from one of his guests, and they're like, we're here and the code isn't working. So we set their Century codes to be the last 4 digits of their phone number. Why? Everyone knows the last 4 digits of their phone number, right? We have mechanical locks, meaning contractor locks, but with physical keys in the front and the back door. So if for some reason the batteries die in the Century locks, or remote locks, another one that we've used, they can physically get it, but it's used through their punch code. And Alan's like, I don't understand. You're punching in your last 4 digits. Yes, we've been out here 15 minutes. We can't get in. We can't get in. We can't get in. Alan goes, hold on a minute. Pulls up the Ring camera. They were at the next door neighbor's house. He's like, ma'am, no, you can communicate through. They're like, oh my gosh. Yeah, ran back over. Amazing. You know what happened?
They went
worked.
They went out before they went to the house.
The wrong house. Of course, they're mortified. They're apologizing to him because they were getting irritated. Rightfully so. They got 3 kids. They just flew in from, I don't know, Minnesota or someplace. They're upset. Yeah, wrong house. So Ring cameras, Nest systems, because yet again, powered by the phone.
Yeah.
Right. Nest systems, Roku, have an account. This is for all short-term rental operators. Have an account with Instacart, because there will be times when your guests will run out of something important, or your cleaners will forget to put them out. So you heard me mention that my short-term rental sleeps 12. That is physically butts and beds, right? 12 people in one house go through a lot of toilet paper. It's just the reality, right?
Yeah.
My cleaners are supposed to put out 2 rolls per bathroom. So think of that math. I'm putting out 12 rolls of toilet paper every single time we flip the house, right? It's a lot of toilet paper. Sometimes they forget, or they have a new crew because it's a company we use. And so the guests will reach out and be like, I'm out of toilet paper. No problem. Instacart delivery, they've got toilet paper in a half hour.
Yep.
Right? It's those little guest things like that they don't think about, So having like an instant delivery system, thank God, because 10 years ago we didn't have that. I don't know what I'd do. I probably have to call my cleaners and be like, here, run over there and get them, whatever. Instacart will be your friend, or Walmart Plus, anything that's going to deliver like that. Pay the fee. Your clients. Sorry, I'm in also real estate brain mode and my other stuff. Your guests will absolutely appreciate it. 100%. Yeah. So that's the technology. The only other piece I would say that someone might want to investigate is something called Minute. Minute it's about the size of a hockey puck. You put it up in the top corner of wherever your common room is. And what Minute does is it alerts you on smoke. Because, little fun fact, Florida, it is still illegal to smoke marijuana. People don't know that. They go on vacation, so on and so forth, right? At our properties, I quit smoking a year ago, but I smoked like a chimney before then, right? I tell her, if I don't smoke in my house, you're not either, right? Yeah. No smoking in our property. The problem is, go ahead and prove it. So they can smoke in the backyard, in the around the pool area. We're fine with that, but not in the house. Minute will notify me. They also monitor noise levels. So I told you that Osceola County is pretty serious about their noise level ordinance, right? Generally, they're enforcing on the outside of the house. I want to know whether or not they're throwing parties at 4 a.m. because I will hear about it from my neighbors. Because those people are also gas complaining to their host, who then is reaching out to me, right? Or they're calling the guard shack. So Minute does a noise alarm for us if it hits over a certain decibel that you set. We also recognize, though, these people are on vacation. So that noise level, you have to be throwing a party for it to notify us, right? It has only happened once in 5 years of operating them that Minute went off and was like, hey, noise levels are excessive. And we got a hold of them. We knew they were doing a family reunion, right? So although 12 people were staying at the house, they had 20 people, family came in from out of town and stuff. 20 people were at the property. And we're like, that's fine. It's now midnight. Like there's no, so Minute is important because you want to know, no matter where you are in the country, if they're throwing a wild party, you want to know it. You want to be able to reach out to them, because in my house manual, I have it all laid out that there are noise level ordinances and so on and so forth. So I recommend that the key to doing it long distance is to use every piece of technology you have to know what is going on in your property at all times.
Do you tell the customers, that the tenants, that you have Minute on there and it is monitoring, so they know in advance, hey, this is what you can expect if you do this?
We monitor noise levels. It doesn't record, so I don't get like, I can't hear what they're saying. It's literally like a decibel monitoring. Is what that really is. It just monitors decibel levels. But it also does, like I said, does smoke. We are very clear with our guests about the smoke problem. And it is it's $1,000 fine for me if I find out you're smoking in my house. It's $1,000 per day that you stayed. And the reason why is because of smoke sensitivity, and because once it gets in the walls, it's just it's a problem.
Can you enforce that if you found somebody and you know you're?
I certainly can. I absolutely can enforce it.
Airbnb is on board with that?
It's a fee I charge directly to them. Yep, nice. I'm okay with it. There is a fine involved. There's definitely a fine involved, and it is posted all over the place in my property too. In the kitchen, there's a little sign. In the living room, because the biggest misconception is that marijuana is legal in a lot of states, and I'm like, I don't care if you smoke it. Feel free, do it outside, because it is my property. It is investment to our future. It is not your personal residence, right? And there's somebody coming behind us. There's always somebody coming behind us. Oh, look at that! Contact me. Yes, you can. So the only other thing that is an operator option that we do not allow, but some do, is whether or not you allow pets. Pets is the big question mark. I was unaware at how many people love to travel with their animals. They just travel. It's crazy, right? Crazy. But I shouldn't say that. People travel with their animals for all kinds of reasons, right? We've only allowed once, and it was an actual documented support animal. We don't allow pets because I worry about the next guest. Right. Like my granddaughter is highly allergic to dogs, which is just unfortunate because she just wants to pet them all, right? All the my best friend's husband's super allergic to cats. So it's not necessarily about your animal. It's the guests that are coming behind you.
Right.
And I have had operators tell me that we are losing out financially. And I'm like, I get that, but I wouldn't want my next guest to be like, great vacation, except, I took Benadryl the whole time and my eye swelled shut and I couldn't see. And oh my God, I was
And there's
itching there.
dog hair everywhere or cat hair.
Right? And you could only vacuum so much of it up because it gets in your HVAC.
It stays.
It stays forever.
Yeah.
Forever. So that's a big issue. I would also say probably beyond the technology, the number one thing you have got to have is boots on the ground wherever your property is, wherever it is.
We get that.
Have to have a maintenance crew that you literally can call and be like, hey, are you busy right now? Because I need you to go do this. Right?
Yeah.
It's 3 weeks ago, there was a leak in the ceiling between the first and second floor where the HVAC water line come through. I love water at the same time. Anybody who's ever been an investor, you love and hate water. The line got backed up and through the ceiling, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we know? Because our cleaners called us and was like, hey, you have a drip through your ceiling. We're like, oh no. Call Darren down there. Darren, I'm so sorry. Is there any possible way you can go check it out? Because we have guests showing up in 2 hours.
Right.
You need that person. And I pay a premium for him. He actually gets a Christmas bonus from us every year, and it's a fairly sizable one. And that's the number one challenge, is finding that team.
Reliable. Yeah.
We've been through, I think, 3 sets of cleaners because I'm a stickler about clean properties because, well,
right.
And so that's always a challenge. But I think that's a challenge no matter where you are, right?
Yeah.
That's not specific to Kissimmee. But it's definitely been the cleaners can make or break you.
Yeah.
If your place is dirty, if it's filthy, I think right now we're at a 99.7 5-star approval rating with Airbnb because I am such a stickler, and Alan is too, about cleanliness.
Mm-hmm.
That cleanliness.
Now, is that the only property that you guys have right now that's Airbnb?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's the only one I intend to get, only because of bandwidth. We are on a not short-term rental thing. Alan and I run a team of realtors that run from Richmond to Northeast North Carolina. There's 10 of us. We're trying to go to 30 this year. So our focus is not in that market. We talked a lot about getting another one here in Virginia Beach, or the Virginia Beach area. But I think the restrictions are going to get stronger and stronger. I'm pretty sure Hampton has outlawed him completely. The city of, I think it's Houston, outlawed him completely. And so I don't want to take a chance in another area I'm unfamiliar with of them changing the ordinances. Would I buy it in Kissimmee? Yeah, but those interest rates have to come down a bit. You figure investor interest rates right now are running 8, 9, 10%. That's painful. So it's not that I don't like the industry. The financial side of it has to change before we would consider doing it again.
Yeah.
Now, so on something like that, interest rates are high. They're going to come down. Let's just guesstimate a year, 2 years, something. Let's say they come down and it's worth half. So it can always refinance. So would it behoove somebody to even consider interest rates are high, but I really want to, do something like this? And do you think that the numbers can work?
I think they can. But you guys know, your investors were always looking at the bottom line, right? And exit strategies and all those things that we'd almost have to do a whole nother hour podcast to go through that stuff. Number one, does the numbers make sense? Do the numbers make sense? But one of the things that I've learned, Monique, is to not plan my financial future with a crystal ball.
Yep.
I didn't get one for Christmas. If you ladies got one, you let me know. I keep asking. Alan won't get me one. I do not know for a fact that in 2 years those interest rates are going to come down.
Right.
They could go up.
I think that's super important too. If it doesn't work as a long-term rental and you're cash flowing as a long-term rental, then you shouldn't be buying it based
Exactly.
on short-term numbers, right?
Exactly.
I do know of a few DSCR products that will base on short-term or pad split rent by room type co-living models.
Yep.
But you're still talking, interest rates that are investor interest rates,
Yeah,
So
and I did a DSCR on the second.
for
The
sure.
second property was a DSCR loan. Number
Right.
one, that down payment is painful.
Yeah,
Number two,
20%.
the interest rates are
Yeah.
painful.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think some investors do is they do I call it the cross the fingers model, right?
Yep.
Then retail real estate, you hear marry the house, date the rate. Because
Right.
you can quote always refinance.
Right.
Well, I'm married to a man who is going to be 4 years old this year, and his first house interest rates in the 80s was 14.9%.
Right.
He refinanced it to get the low rate of 11.9.
Yeah.
Right.
But the reality is that you cannot base. Okay, let me rephrase that. My investor strategy, I'm never counting on what's going to happen a year or 2 years from now, ever.
Right.
Ever. We just, and if we didn't learn any other lesson from COVID, that should be the one. Best laid plans of mice and men, right? So do I recommend Kissimmee? 100%. Yes, I recommend looking into it. I think it's a wonderful place to look at for all the reasons that we talked about, right? Oh, and one last thing about that. Addresses matter.
Yeah.
I'm right on the border of Kissimmee and Davenport. You want to be in Kissimmee. Even though they are kissing cousins, are right there, right? It's like the difference between Virginia Beach and Norfolk.
Right.
You want the address, it matters. Yes, I think it's an absolute wonderful opportunity down there. Yes, I think you can do short-term and long-term rental down there. Yes, we can cross our fingers and hope that interest rates drop. Should you investigate it? 100%. Yes, investigate all opportunities that come your way. But
Right.
don't count on, what the market is or is not going to do. Trust me, I have a lot of friends that in 2008 could tell you they lost everything.
Yeah.
Because they were gambling on it.
Yeah.
And I am, in all honesty, Monique, I am risk adverse, where my husband is the pick up the dice and roll them. He's that guy. It's like, oh, but if this happens, if I hate the word if is
Well,
not.
he bought a house in Kissimmee during COVID. Who would expect that to be so successful?
Yeah, he is. He's that guy. And I'm like, seriously, like it is closed. He's like, that's why the prices are so cheap. Like he's that guy, right? And he wasn't wrong. The people
Yeah,
that
he did right. He did good.
He wasn't wrong. However, it's crazy. And if you guys ever meet Alan and I together, you would not guess he is the gambler of the two of us. But he is. Where I'm like, well, that's nice, but what about today? What's happening today? Where Alan's always thinking future stuff. So yeah, 100% go down there. I'm 6 miles from Disney. And the way that we built our properties, the kids' rooms are over the top themed rooms, right? The adult rooms, there are 3 of them in that property that all have king size beds in them. The idea was that this kids run in our house and they run upstairs and they're like, oh my God, we've got a frozen room in Harry Potter, blah, 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 blah. And adults walk into their room and we did them 100% like a spa. So the adults could go, right? And make it nice enough that if grandma is with you and she doesn't want to walk all over Disney, because dear Lord, it's Disney. She can stay home and she can sit in the lanai or do whatever. So yes, I think there's a lot of pluses to that area of the country. So look at it, but look at the numbers as they are today. Right. And if you don't have, and this is true of all short-term rental operators, no matter where in the country, AirDNA is probably my number one best program for analyzing short-term rentals. It has its own glitches like anything else does, but you want a realtor who specializes in short-term rental. Do not let them tell you they are investor friendly. Guess what? Every realtor out there will sell to an investor.
Right.
They need to know the short-term market and what the ordinances, regulations, and what's on the docket. Right. We knew Virginia Beach was going to change long before they actually did it.
Yeah.
We have friends of ours that dumped their short-term rentals, switched them over to long-term, sold them, whatever, because they knew it was coming.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Cool. So, Heather, what else do you do other than this? We'd love to know more. So, you're running a team of agents. How's
I
that?
am. Great and terrifying at the same time. So I have not worked for somebody else in almost 20 years. I am what I call permanently unemployable.
You sound like my brother. He says that.
I can't ever ask.
Oh, me too.
I am permanently unemployable. The concept of even asking for time off is just foreign to me. Foreign. If my granddaughter wants to see Mimi tomorrow, guess what I'm doing? I'm seeing her. It means I might be working till midnight. But so I didn't want a team. I didn't want to be accountable to someone else. I didn't want to do all of that. And it just kind of fell in by accident. I was asked to start a team. It was going to be a small team. During COVID, I was a state mentor for EXP's brokerage. I'm now with LPT. Those mentees, half of them, when they heard I was starting a team, was like, "Oh, we want to come," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, oh, okay, okay." Then one of my agents, who's just amazing, was in the Williamsburg area. She moved to Richmond, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna hate to see you go, so on and so forth." And she's like, "Oh, I don't want to leave your team," and I'm like, "I have nothing set up for Richmond, nothing set up for Richmond." She goes, "That's fine. We have Zoom. I'll come visit." I was like, and so our geographical, they told me today 1,300 square miles is what we cover. And I'm like, "Oh, great. Wonderful." So we're doing power lunches every month at Sweetwater Cuisine. And those are designed for actual actionable items, things that we're going to do. Like today was all about raving fans and return business. I had 3 clients that, because of return business, I did $7 million in volume with. And so, like, how do you do that? How do you get those people to keep coming back for more? And I think that's applicable whether you're investor world or if you are in
100%.
You need to build that out. And so all of those processes. I just hired a coach to come through my business, and someone's like, "Dear God, why?" And I'm like, because the best athletes in the world have coaches.
Exactly.
All of them, right?
So you're looking for more people, more agents to join your team.
100%, 100%, 100%. I'm always looking for investor opportunities, as we all are. Always looking for agents that want to just want to 10x their business, because there are no placeholders on my team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I love that. Right. So you, as the leader, as the team leader, are getting your own mentorship so you can be better. And then you are passing on that knowledge to your team.
And no different than what you ladies are doing and what every great CEO of any company does or has done somewhere in their career. Right. I think it is hubris for someone to think they have all the answers. Absolutely. And here's what I know. We can all get there. Sharon, Monique, myself, all of us will get there. Yeah. It will just take longer.
Sure.
True.
It'll take longer, right? I don't want to figure it out.
The wheel.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't want to figure it out 10 years from now. When Kayla, my coach, can go, "Oh, Heather, have you thought about this? Implement that." "Oh, yay. How do I do that?" "Oh, you do this." Right? No different than your conversation today is, what technology do I need? Would you have figured it out over time? Of course. Your viewership are very smart people, or they wouldn't be watching you, right? Would they figure out the smoke detector thing and the noise ordinance and all that? Yeah. But it might take, after someone throws a massive party in their house and destroys $600,000 a year investment, for someone to be like, "Oh, you didn't have Minute?"
Yeah.
No, I didn't know about Minute, right? So I'm just a believer in training. I'm a believer in coaching. I'm a believer in that. We have, through the years, taught, we used to teach how to rehab. We taught wholesaling. We've taught short-term rental. We've done that stuff. And so those are tools in our tool belt that it's just invaluable. It's just invaluable. Because the goal is to never go work for anybody else. I will never do it.
Absolutely.
Ever.
Unless they're my team lead. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's the challenge is I have to take my computer with me wherever I go.
Yeah.
Wherever I go.
Girl, so do I, and I'm a wholesaler.
Right? Like with my girls out of Florida, I'm like, you guys know, kitchen table, computer, right? They're like, yeah, we know. I'm like,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's stuck to me,
Yeah.
Like my computer's my lifeline. And you're right, you're a wholesaler, you guys get it, right? We're investors and we invest not only in our futures, but in our communities. And I think that's something that the message that they really miss is we are employers, even if it's ancillary services. I'm employing people. I am, with my short-term rental business, I am single-handedly changing people's lives, not from my guest point of view, but from the contractors that helped us, from all of that. Like, it's important what we do, and that we do it ethically and at a very high level. Oh, one last thing to share, because I know we're getting at the bottom. So I told you I would share with you loving on my guests, right?
Oh, yes.
So sometimes stuff goes really sideways, really sideways. So only one time, knock on wood, in 5 years, have we had a cleaning crew not clean a house. It didn't hit their calendar. I don't know why, because it's automated, right? We would not hire a cleaner unless they link with the Airbnb platform. So it automatically gets on their schedule. I don't know how, but it happened. Family was coming in from, I think it was Georgia, coming in, they opened the door at 6 o'clock at night, and there are pizza boxes everywhere, and beds are not made, and it's just nothing.
Disaster.
Okay, they call us. No, it was later than that. It was 8 o'clock. They reach out to Alan. They're like, Alan, go send me pictures. Holy crap. We get a hold of the clean people. They're like, wasn't on our calendar. Oh, it should have been, blah, blah, blah. So the first thing Alan does is goes, hold on, I'll call you back. He arranges through the concierge at our community. He calls the concierge and says, where's a nice place that I can put this family up for the night? Right?
Nice.
8 o'clock, 8:30 at night now. Concierge says, hold on, I'm going to call. So the people in that community called another community. We got him a place. Alan said, go out to dinner wherever it is you want to go to. I don't care where it is. I will pay for your dinner. Here's my personal number. Call me, and I will give them the credit card of the restaurant, right? So that the restaurant charges. So this little adventure, 24 hours worth, cost us about $500 by the time it was done.
Yeah.
Okay. The next day, they get up, they come into the house, they message Alan, house is beautiful. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Because now they got all these people that have stayed in hotels overnight, right? Their vacation got started late. And they're like, thank you so much. It's just so important to me because I'm celebrating breast cancer survival. She had just gone in remission.
Oh, wow.
Vacation, right? I'm like, we got to do something. We got to do something even more than this. So, edible arrangements. I don't send flowers. I send edible arrangements because flowers die. It's the Florida sun if they have to leave them. But edible arrangements, everyone loves it. It's fruit. And we just put a little card in there that was like, we literally said, we think you are a badass survivor. Please enjoy the rest of your stay on us. Best wishes, Alan and Heather Murray, right? So think about that. Awful check-in. Have to go to a hotel they don't know about, right? Can't start their vacation the next day. 5-star review.
Nice.
That's my opinion. Edible arrangements, everybody. There's at least one piece of fruit on there that you can do.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Super awesome.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much for coming on. I love this topic, and I love all these tips and tricks for people to learn about how to do, good, the short-term rentals remotely and be able to do that. And I hope people do reach out to you. I know you personally, you're an amazing individual and so super helpful to everyone. So yes, people, this is her contact information. That's her website. I'm sure there's a contact us page on there. Go ahead and reach out to her. And we're going to say adios. Good night. It's been an hour. See, I told you it goes fast every week.
Especially when it's a topic you love, right? It's easy to go when you love it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm going to end stream. Have a good night, guys.
Bye.